For being here and participating in our election and nomination process. My name is Tammy Ramsay and I'm running for the House of Representatives, District 24, position number 1. I am disabled with a rare form of urticaria vasculitis, which has posed many challenges in my life that I've had to learn to overcome. I've lived in Washington State most of my life. I come from a long line of a Democratic family. I'm a lifelong Democrat myself. My dad, at 86 years old, can't unfortunately remember his local numbers, but he was a member of the Boilermakers, operating engineers, and amalgamated transit unions. My mom was in real estate most of her life, in sales. I come from a working class family. My son is a member of the sheet metal workers, Local 55 in Spokane, as an apprentice. And if elected, I will work hard to create more apprenticeship opportunities and more transportation packages for large-scale opportunities for labor. I have a wonderful fiance, and between us we have 5 children and 6 grandchildren. I have been a citizen lobbyist for 8 years now, working beside the lawmakers at the Capitol on several different forms of legislation. I was seated on the Grace Harbor County Land Use Committee. I was elected onto the Grace Harbor County Democrats Executive Board in 2008, and I am a member of Grace Harbor County Democrats and Jefferson County Democrats. My main focus in this campaign will be basic education. Our state is in trouble right now with basic education. We have a shortage of 7,000 teachers. And in lieu of this shortage, we have created an emergency certification so that uncertified teachers can substitute in some of these positions. So our children, in some instances, are being taught by uncredited teachers. Not only does this discredit the teachers that worked hard for their accreditation, this discredits their accreditation. It's unacceptable to me. The levies are going to lift in 2017, and this is going to bankrupt many school districts in our state. The legislation has to be able to come together this next session to fully fund basic education. I don't want to stop at basic education, and I'm currently working with legislators and stakeholders on legislation for next year. We're going to propose a free community and technical college program for all in-state students. And of course you say, how do we fund this, right? I think Steve Theringer was the first one to ask me. We're looking at creating a revolving fund. The students will pay their tuition up front, and if they graduate, they get it back. So the state only has to fund the first 2 years for free community college, and then we can utilize the revolving fund. We can roll in the GET program, we can roll in all of our grant programs, so that we come up with a unified system that any student can go to community college and get their tuition back and graduate from community college with no student debt. The second piece of legislation that I'm already working on for next session is to fund law enforcement. We have a horrible heroin epidemic, and we're not going to fight it without law enforcement being funded. I'm looking at the Liquor Control Board. They have greatly failed in their enforcement of cannabis, liquor, and tobacco. And we're going to move enforcement from the Cannabis Liquor Control Board to local law enforcement and the funding that goes with it. I'm currently working again with legislatures and the stakeholders, the Washington State Sheriff's Association and local law enforcement. This way we can get law enforcement funded to, one, fight the heroin epidemic and the crime that's coming with it.
Heroin is a health issue. Yeah.
It is a health issue. You're right. You're right. You're right. Representative Cody passed Ricky's Law this year. And Ricky's Law allows a person to go through a healthcare examination and actually be forced into rehab. And at this point, we've got to make bold stands to get addictions help, but not treat them like criminals. We have to treat it as a healthcare issue, as a disease, because that's what it is. So we need to continue.
Cops aren't trained healthcare.
They're not.
Neither is the judicial system.
Behave.
We need the whole system filled.
For the dealers.
We need the dealers put in jail, and we need their victims to be able to have access to the rehab that they need to be productive citizens.
I'm not gonna do that, but no. Come on.
With my experience with working with legislators, I can hit the ground running. I have well-established relationships on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers. And if elected, I will work to fund basic education, fight for free community college for all in-state students, and fight for the funding that our local law enforcement needs to keep our communities safe. I am Tammy Ramsay. I'm running for the Washington State House of Representatives, and I'm asking you for your support. Thank you.
This is probably what it feels like when the Seattle Seahawks go on the road and have to face the San Francisco 49ers or Los Angeles Rams this next year. I'm Mike Chapman. I'm from Clallam County. And none of you know who I am, and I've begun to meet a few of you. For the last 16 years, this is my 16th year, I've been representing Clallam County as a county commissioner. And so one thing I've learned in working in local government and working at the county level is that you can make a lot of promises, but you have to roll up your sleeves and work with everyone else around you to get things done. One of the great honors of my life was being able to serve for about 10 or 11 years with Steve Theringer. And you know, at Clallam County, we accomplished a lot of great things. We have a great track record up there. We're one of the only counties in the state anymore that still has no debt. Think about that, no general fund debt as a county. But we have about $12 million in the bank with a $30 million general fund budget. We run between $10 and $12 million. And when Steve and I took office, Clallam County had less than about $1 million in the bank. He and I worked hard to build healthy reserves. Many people have said over the years, well, why would Clallam County need that kind of reserve? Because we're able to bring in projects in infrastructure, roads, bridges, projects that improve our economy, and we're able to use our reserves as match dollars and not have to issue bonds, public debt. When Steve and I served together, we did a lot of amazing, progressive things far beyond what you would consider from a rural county. Now think about this. In 2003, not that long after 9/11, Steve and I and our fellow seatmate, Commissioner Mike Doherty, passed a resolution saying we didn't support the Patriot Act. That was real leadership in 2003, standing up as a rural county saying we don't like that government overreach into our lives. Can you imagine in a rural county, less than 2 years after 9/11, 3 rural county commissioners standing up to the federal government, passing a resolution condemning the Patriot Act? I think we may have been the first ones in the country to take a stand from a local level like that. Steve and I and Mike Doherty supported a buyer's excise tax to ask the voters to tax themselves to preserve farmland. When the voters said no, we lived with that decision. We rolled up our sleeves and we began to find capital dollars for match to preserve many acres of farmland in Clallam County. And so today we see a lot of farms that are thriving and creating good businesses thanks to the leadership of the county commissioners. When our jail was overflowing, due to some of the issues that you just raised, arresting too many people and not getting them the help they needed, our sheriff at the time wanted to raise our sales tax 0.3% to build a new jail, to increase jail. And instead, our Senator Hargrove, around that same time, created a law that we now know as the Hargrove tax that was the same 0.3% sales tax for chemical dependency and mental health treatment in our county. And we were either the first or second. We were the first or probably the second county out of 39. Think about this. Rural county, people kind of consider maybe a little anti-tax, a little tax adverse. 3 county commissioners raising a sales tax, 0.3% for chemical dependency and mental health treatment. And let me tell you, we never had to build a new jail. That program has done amazing things in our county. Now, do we still have issues? Do we still have problems that need services? Yeah, of course we do. And you know what? We have the resources. We have money in the bank, and we have programs in place, and we can access those funds, and we have services for our community so they can get the help they need. Now that's real leadership. And oh, by the way, the other party, because we have initiative and referendum in our county, the other party, they started a referendum to overturn that tax increase. They couldn't get the petitions in our local stores because our merchants said, hey, we want this tax, we want these services, we want people to get help in our community, we believe this is a good program, and the initiative and referendum that they started never went anywhere. 3/10 sales tax passed in a rural county, no opposition today, and no county commissioner running for office has ever said, let's cut that tax. That's real leadership with real results. A couple of other things really quick. Early on, 10 years ago, Steve and I and Mike signed a resolution in favor of the original Wild Olympics plan. That has met with a lot of opposition over the years. It's been scaled back, but once again, no county commissioner in Clallam County has ever said, let's look at that resolution. That is still the law of the land. That is still the standing resolution in Clallam County. That's real leadership. And then finally, in 2007 and now in 2016, Clallam County has 2 resolutions on the books indicating that our seriousness toward climate change, our concerns toward climate change. 2007, tough time to start passing resolutions as a local government, talking about climate change, kind of ahead of the curve at the time, wasn't in the news as much as it is today, wasn't as accepted as it is today. We passed it in 2007, we just updated the plan this year to actually bring in our department heads to begin to look at the impacts of climate change as they plan for their budgets and their future. To me, that's real leadership in a small rural county. That is why, in my 16th year, I'm not seeking a 5th term on the county commission. I think I should get a medal for actually serving 16 years ago. For those of you who know how difficult that will be. But I am running for the open seat on the 24th. I'll make one promise to you all. I won't forget my road to Hoquiam. I won't forget the hard-working men and women that are down here. I understand the pain that you have felt during the recession is the same pain that my community has felt in Port Angeles. It's the same pain that has been felt in Forks. It is the same issues that we're all dealing with on the 24th. I think I have a pretty good track record of leadership. I have a really good track record of working with really good people like Steve Theringer, like Mike Doherty, like Senator Hargrove, former Representative Lynn Kessler, Kevin Van de Wage, and finally, I think like many of you, I am very proud to be part of a party that elected Derek Kilmer as our congressman. Proud moment. Both my kids one kid's already graduated from Port Angeles High School. My other kid's a senior this year, graduating from Running Start and Port Angeles High School. You know, the cool thing is when I have to go up there and deal with a school issue, pay a fine or whatever else he's done that he shouldn't have. All these fines come in right before graduation. It's like, are you kidding me? Why didn't you return that book 3 years ago? But do you know whose picture hangs in the foyer at Port Angeles High School? As a member of his senior leadership, senior government class, our U.S. Congressman, and I'm reminded every day that if Derek can come out of Port Angeles and become a U.S. Congressman, just like I reminded my kids every day, we can accomplish great things together. So, like Tammy, I'm here asking for your vote. You're going to have a tough choice. I get it. She's hometown. I'm the outsider. No matter which way you go, you're going to make a great choice. Let's keep the seat. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm interested in your vote, I'm interested in your support, and I won't forget my road to Hoquiam. Thank you very much.